All I can say is this: I was in Brussels recently, invited to speak to various people involved in the EU on where do we get ethics in a European pluralist society in the 21st century, because they're worried, very worried, where we get these rights and values from. Because what I have noticed in my limited experience is the question of where values come from, who said so, is a question that many people want to completely avoid, and we can't avoid it. And what I wanted to say to those people, and did say to them, was on the one hand, there is this common pool of values. If it didn't exist, society would collapse completely. But the thing we need to be very wary of in Europe is some worldviews, particularly this kind of atheism, are actually, whether they see it or not, undermining those traditional values. And therefore, they're liable to be believed by young people, which could turn some of our countries into binge cultures apart from anything else. So I don't know whether you want to comment, because you are a lawyer and the human rights thing.
No, I'm content to leave it there.
Yes, right. Well,
partly because I'm normally paid for my answers, John.
Do you know,
and if you want to speak to me afterwards, Brian.
Do you see, he waited to say that till nearly the very end. Do you know, could we start again? And I'll set a rate. Okay. Now, there was a final question here. How do the new atheists propose to rid the world of religion?
Without force.
Without force. Well, Dawkins, in some of his writings, comes perilously near to a totalitarian attitude. What worries me, as I mentioned before, but let me recontextualize it, what worries me about the airbrushing out of 20th century history of communism and so on, and of atheism, I can understand these people wanting to airbrush it out, because if they leave it in, it's a very small step to say, well, gentlemen, are you proposing a similar thing? Because forced atheism has been tried, and it has led to the greatest bloodbaths history has ever seen. You need to be very careful. Now, that's why all my alarm antennae go up when I see that they are denying history. The denial of history is a very serious thing, ladies and gentlemen. It is totalitarian thinking that rewrites history. And that is what worries me. And perhaps we shall see how they propose to do it. And I suspect a little bit of indoctrination will not be beyond them. Dawkins, after all, has started his Richard Dawkins Foundation for Rationality and Science, or something like this, RDFRS, which is just what his name is, Fellow of the Royal Society. And that foundation has put a lot of money into sending literature into schools. So they are certainly prepared to educate the next generation of children in atheism. I hope they keep away from increasing the pressure, but there are certain elements in these books, and you need to read them for yourselves to come to a judgment, which do frighten me. But the rewriting of history is the most serious one. We must, it seems to me, we must, in our society, learn the meaning of true as distinct from false tolerance. Tolerance used to mean that I would respect and protect your right to disagree with me publicly if necessary. Tolerance has generated in many of our Western civilized nations into a political paralyzing correctness, that you daren't say what you believe to be the truth in case you'd offend somebody. And Dawkins says in his book, it's very difficult to be an atheist. What part of the world he's talking about? He may be talking about parts of the United States. He's not talking about Europe, because it's becoming increasingly difficult to confess that you are a Christian in Europe. And certainly we can see that there are cases of discrimination. And it seems to me that there's half an eye, if not more than half an eye, on an American potential audience in that book than there is in a realistic view of Europe. Let's get the truth out and discuss it. And that is why I would like to thank you enormously for your invitation, to Stephen for his brilliant series of questions that made it so easy for me, that this is what we need to do, to have constant discussion of these ideas and go away and, as free men and women in a relatively free society, make up our own minds and then spread the discussion in the same civilized way.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of you, I'd like to thank Dr. John Lennox for being our guest this evening. Will you please show your appreciation? Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you again for coming. In addition to thanking John on your behalf, I think we should thank Stephen Shaw. So please show your appreciation to Stephen. As I said at the start, John's book is available. It's on sale in the foyer as you go out. Also the DVD from the debates in Birmingham, Alabama. John will also be here in the morning to speak on the topic A Reason for Hope as part of a church service here. So if you would wish to hear him again on that topic, please join us either at 9:30 or 11:30 in the morning. But thank you so much for coming. Do take care on the way. The rain has been unrelenting. You probably need your boat rather than your car to get you home. So thank you very much and good night.